everybody, what's up? My name is Cryor and this is Behind the Lens. Today we are doing a tutorial with the awesome and incredible James Davis in his studio, the Space OC. So, okay James, what are we getting into today?
So today we're gonna do a little walkthrough about a simple lighting setup. Now I know working in a studio sometimes, lighting in a studio setting can be a little daunting.
Yeah.
So today we're just going to talk about a simple one light setup that anybody can do.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, so I mean, you don't need much. Today we're only be working with three things: a light, an umbrella, and a C-stand. So for today's tutorial, we'll be working with the Amaran 300C. It's one of my favorite lights, very powerful. RGB, does a lot of effects, has different colors. That's what we're working with today. But for you guys, if this is a little bit out of your price range, all you really need is a 100 watt light. So there's a brand called GVM, great video maker, 100 watt light, and I think it's like 120 bucks.
Okay. So we can get it on Amazon.
Yeah, all this stuff will be on Amazon. Secondly, you'll need, so for this setup, we're doing something called a book light. And basically what a book light setup is, you're taking a light source and you're blasting it into either an umbrella or up against a wall. And then that light that bounces back is what is gonna illuminate your subject. Okay. And that process is called a book light. So to recreate a book light setup, like I said, we're using the Amaran 300C. And our umbrella of choice today is a Godox 72-inch umbrella. But for this specifically, for the look that we're going for, it has a white interior. And just to briefly explain a little bit about the differences between a white umbrella interior and a silver umbrella. So as you guys can see with this umbrella, it is silver. And the difference between having a white and a silver, the white just creates a more soft, cleaner look. Okay. So perfect for headshots, perfect for anything editorial and that just needs to be clean, for e-commerce types of photo shoots. Now, if you want something a little bit more edgy, and actually this works a lot better on darker skin tones. Okay. The silver interior does, because it just creates a nice punchy, contrasty, harsher light. But it really just depends on what you guys are trying to create. But for today, we're doing a simple, clean look. So that's why we're going with the white interior today. Okay.
And that is helpful just because, yeah, it depends on what you want to shoot.
Absolutely.
Because not all tools are made to be used for the same thing.
Right.
So you're saying this is more for headshots, more of an edgier look. So yeah, if you're on Pinterest and you're trying to figure out a photo shoot or editorial type of thing, like make sure, okay, you know what you're buying or renting out, because you're like, oh, the pictures came out not how I envisioned it.
Yeah, and that's why I really wanted to explain the difference between the two. As you see, I have both, but I never use this one. I always use the white one. And then also the size does matter in this case. This umbrella is 72 inches, so it's a very massive spread of light. Right. So the bigger the light source, the softer the light source will be. So if this was a smaller umbrella, the light is basically compacted into one area, so it'll be a lot harsher on the subject. So since this is so big, it's gonna illuminate the whole scenery in a much softer look. So yeah, size and color matter for this.
Yes, exactly. Let's be specific.
Yeah. Okay. And then lastly,
yes,
we're gonna be using a C-stand. I prefer using a C-stand over just a typical light stand. C-stands are more robust. They're more in a professional setting. A C-stand is what you want to use. It's like I said, it's more robust and it can handle the weight of the light and the umbrella. Just make sure you guys put a sandbag on the C-stand as well, just so that you don't have any accident. If you do need to use a light stand, simply just a light stand, just make sure you put a sandbag on. Right. That's basically it. But there are cheap C-stands. There's a brand called Newer. You can get these on Amazon. They're probably like $100 for a C-stand. There's a brand called Matthews, but those are very expensive. They're like $300 or $400 for one stand. Right. But the Newer ones are perfectly fine. So
perfect. All right, we ready to get into the shot?
Let's do it. Okay. So before you start anything, you want to make sure that you don't have any outside light contaminating your scene, just so that none of that natural light is interfering with our artificial light that we're about to create for our scene. And basically this is very easy to set up. You just put your light here on the C-stand. You can go ahead and raise it up. And that's simple. You have your light on your stand. Now next, what you want to do, we're going to use the umbrella. And like I said, the light is going to shoot into the umbrella. So it feels weird honestly if you've never done it before, but you want to face the light away from you, because the umbrella is going to go in front of the light. So the light is going to shoot into the umbrella, and that light from this light is actually going to wrap around the umbrella and bounce back this way. So we'll get that set up now. And as you see, this is our umbrella. Now what you want to do, and this is something that you can kind of mess with, is how close you want your light to the umbrella. So I just have this little knob here where I can pull the umbrella in and push it away. I'm gonna have it at like 50% because I still want a lot of the light to wrap around the umbrella. So yeah, this is typically just how you set up your constant light to an umbrella. Now I'm just gonna get this powered up and I'll show you some of the results. It's gonna be bright. But as you see, it creates a beautiful glow. This may be a little bit overexposed on me, but even here in person, just putting your hand up, you can see the quality of the light. You can see how soft it is. But to make this setup even better, well, one, I had the light at 100%. And that is because since the light is bouncing, you want to put as much output onto the umbrella, because actually by the time it hits your subject, you're not getting 100% output. Now, if this light was turned around and faced directly at me at 100%, that'll be a different story. So since this is bouncing back, you want to have it, I mean, you may not need it at 100%, but in this scenario, we're going to be using 100%. And to make it look even better, I like to raise my light up as high as I can and angle it slightly at like a 45 degree angle. So I'll show you what I mean. So just taking the light, I'm gonna take the top knob on the C-stand. You always wanna use the top knob, because if you use the bottom knob, the top knob is now too high and you can't use it. So we're gonna use the top knob, go ahead and unlock that, and you can raise your light up. And honestly, I think that's pretty good. It doesn't need to go that high. And like I said, I like my light to be at a slight 35 to 45 degree angle, a little bit more towards the 45. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this notch and just lift my light up like that. Now I have a nice 45 degree light, nice 45 degree angle that is. And if I need to move this light closer to the subject, I have my C-stand on tennis ball, so I can just slide it in and out to my liking. Once we have the subject in front of the backdrop, we can see exactly what this light is doing. So I'm gonna bring you guys in close to the light. Let's get this exposed correctly. So like I said, we're shooting at 100% and we are shooting at 5600 Kelvin. So that's our white balance, which is equivalent to daylight. Now, like I said, you guys can shoot however you want, but this is for a simple, clean look, 100% at 5600 Kelvin. 5600 Kelvin is equivalent to daylight. So we're replicating what the sun would be doing inside the studio. So 5600 Kelvin, 100%. And as you guys can see, this is what our umbrella with the light looks like. And then even in video, you guys can see what it's doing here on Maya right now. This is just one light, super clean. Obviously we can tweak it a little bit, but for one light placed where we just set up our tutorial, this looks great. So I'm just gonna take a few test shots, see how I like them. Obviously take a few test shots, adjust your own settings on your camera, and if you need to adjust your settings on your light, obviously do that. So like I said, this is at 100%, 5600 Kelvin on the light. And for you guys that care, I'm shooting on a Canon R5 with a 24-70 lens. So let's go ahead and just take a shot. Now, just looking at these photos, I mean, I feel like they look good, but I would change a few things. So looking at it, I don't need to be at 100%. So I'm gonna go roughly to about 75, 70. Let's land at 70. And I think 56 is still good. And what I'm also gonna do is just taper off the light a little bit. It doesn't need to be directly on her in this case, so I'm just gonna taper it off like that. I like that. So I'm basically just gonna shoot from within the umbrella. Nice. Nice. So Maya also wants us to do another setup, but in this setup, we'll just be utilizing natural light. So I'm gonna break this down. We're gonna move over to the other side of the studio and I'll show you what I do over there. All right. All right, so like I said, Maya wanted us to do a setup that was kind of focused around natural light. Since we're in the studio, we're just gonna utilize the natural light that comes into the studio. A lot of the people that are just starting out, this is their favorite area because we have this big window, you have a nice texture, and you have, it's kind of a white wall, but it's like a cream wall that bounces light back. So it's like a perfect scenario for you to always get good results. So I kind of want to utilize this area just to show you what you can get. Again, I'm shooting on the Canon R5 with a 24-70, and we're just gonna shoot with how the light is right now. And throughout this tutorial, I'll kind of modify it and show you guys different things that can help shape the light and get you guys just different results. So we'll go ahead and just start with what it is, how it is already, just a big open light. So you guys are gonna get like a little walkthrough of how I kind of even talk to models, because obviously with natural light, you can't really change it as far as where it is. It's everywhere. So you kind of need to place your model and work with your model to help get them illuminated, get certain parts of their faces into the light. So one area that I love to do, one thing I like to do with this situation in particular, you do it naturally. Go ahead and just look out the window. And with this, she's just getting a big cast of light just hitting her face. One thing I was telling Maya earlier today is it's overcast. So there's a lot of clouds in the sky. And basically what clouds are, it's just a big piece of diffusion over the sun. So the fact that we have all overcast today, she's already just getting nice, soft, evenly lit light on her. When I take this photo, you guys will see that it looks great already just because of where she is, and then the fact that the light outside is already soft. One way that you can adjust this a little bit is just adding things like reflectors. So this is kind of like a high contrast type of situation. So let's say you're like, oh, I love it, but I want my other side of my face to be lit up as well. This is where a reflector would come into handy. So you have your silver side and then you have your gold side. And it really just depends on the person's skin tone, and honestly just play it by eye what looks best. So we'll go ahead and just try out a silver and see what that looks like. You guys can already see what that's doing to Maya's face. Boom, boom. And as you guys can see, you guys can probably see on the camera that this is just illuminating all of this and kind of just evening out what's coming in through the window. So this is, let me go before.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so you see how all that is filled in?
Yes.
Versus this where it's dark.
Right.
Now
it just depends on
it's preference.
Mood or the preference. Yeah.
It's like me personally, I like the moody, like edgy vibe. But some people, and then if you're working for a client, sometimes they're like, oh, we want everything to be bright and like lively.
Right.
This
Depending on like if you're shooting for a wedding or shooting for, maybe little kids or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is where something like this helps a lot. Now, some people may ask, well, what if we want it to be even darker? Like, what if we want more mood, more vibe? This is where something like a V flat will come into play. And that's this big guy.
Right.
And a V flat has two sides to it. You have a black side and a white side. And I'll show you guys both. But we'll start out with the black side. And what the black side will do is introduce negative fill. And what negative fill is, it's opposite of what we just did with the reflection. The reflection is filling in light. The black is taking away light.
Right, because black absorbs.
Exactly.
Right. I know a little something from science.
Right. So we're gonna go ahead and put that V flat right next to Maya. See, like, this is my vibe. It's just so much more contrasty.
Definitely a major difference from that, yeah.
Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually take this out, just so you guys can see what it's doing. So this is Maya with nothing. Then once we introduce the white V flat, you can instantly see what it's doing. And it's almost similar to what the silver was doing. But like I said, with the umbrella from the last tutorial, the silver is a little bit more harsher. So it just depends on the vibe you're looking for. This is almost like what we used in the other tutorial with the white umbrella. It's just a little bit softer.
Right.
So it's all preference.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Wow, okay.
Then what? With
Right,
the black.
The moods definitely change
Yep.
for sure. Depending on what you want the picture to look like.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's essentially how I would approach something like this in this scenario. And the same thing kind of applies if you're shooting outside as well. You want to play towards the light. Sometimes you want to play against the light. It's really subjective on either the job, the creative, of the mood board. It's all relative. So you kind of need to just play around with the light a little bit. And just move. Don't stay stagnant in one area. It's kind of like life.
Right.
You kind of want to just like move around a little bit.
Yeah.
And test the waters, because sometimes something that technically is wrong may be visually right. So don't be afraid to just try different things. Like, I typically don't shoot like this all the time, but as you see with the results, it looks great.
Right.
So don't be afraid to, utilize the natural light. Just, I would say, use some of these tools, some of these tips that I gave you, and it'd be dope.
If somebody, just has a window at home,
right,
and they're like, okay, I just want to get some, you don't need that much.
You really don't.
The point.
And sometimes window light sometimes is the best light, 'cause it's just there. And the way that light falls, especially into a room, it falls, the first thing it touches is gonna illuminate it perfectly. And it naturally dissipates. Right. So you're getting a nice fall off, just like you would use a real light. Yeah. But you're just getting natural. So, but a window light, just like this, I mean, it's
doing wonders.
Key, right?
It's doing wonders. Thank you, James.
Of course.
That was the most simple setup I've ever experienced. Thank you so much. It was simple, to the point, very straightforward, and I think we learned a lot today. What would you say to those who are just starting out with their photography journey?
Yeah, well, I'll say that lighting, as you guys can see, is probably one of the most important things. I mean, you guys can have the cameras, the lenses, but lighting is the most important thing. Exactly. So I would say my one piece of advice is experiment in different lighting conditions. So don't be afraid to get in a studio, try strobe photography, try constant light, and even shoot outside at different times of the day. The sun is the biggest light source, so don't be afraid to shoot at night. Don't be afraid to shoot at any time of the day, just experiment and you'll become a master at light, basically.
Where can the people find you and also book your beautiful studio space?
Thank you. Yeah, you guys can book the studio at thespaceorangecounty.com. And if you guys want to just find us on Instagram, it's thespaceoc. And if you guys want to see some of my content, my Instagram is by James Davis, and then my portfolio is jd2pictures.com.
Thank you, James, and thank you all for watching today on Behind the Lens. Make sure you subscribe and follow this channel, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.